Hey, it was Des back with another video. So yeah, the Man City game. That was painful, man. That was so painful. Oh gosh, man. That was painful, man. Can you imagine when you're like it's so hard because like you feel you always seem bitter when you're constantly banging on about you're the better team, you're the better team, but then there's mistakes, you know what I mean? Like, but then you lose. It's like it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Like you look up, for example, like Haaland running around celebrating like that after he scored and acting as if it was or he was having a great performance or City were great, when really that wasn't the case. Like we were the better team. Like the first half, we completely dominated them. There was so much space in the wide areas. We found it. Just didn't take the situations that we created properly. There was even more space that we could have even occupied and exploited as well that we didn't. Like the first half, we completely dominated them. Like you don't usually see Man City in games whereby they're not dominating a possession. We dominated possession against them. In previous times when we beat Man City, it's been a case of us like mainly just being very organized and then counter attacking and beating them in transition and stuff like that. But I said it straight from the FA Cup game. Even after we lost that game, I said like for me, the only thing I learned from that game was the fact that we I can see us beating them. We've been a better team the whole season. We've been a better team. We've been a team in form. We've been playing better. We've been a lot more consistent than them. But then it's just like, oh man, I couldn't believe it, man. That first half we were so good. In that first half, we controlled the game. We pressed them well, prevented them. They had no shots. Because until Tomiyasu's mistake, they had nothing for us. I mean, they had nothing for us until that mistake. Like, yes, and then we ended up going back 1-1 with the penalty that we scored. But they had nothing for us, like besides the mistake that we made. And then the second half, oh my gosh, that second half, man. So, you think about like you think about how like what's it called? How embarrassing that performance was in the second half. Like when you think about it, like okay, Tomiyasu made a mistake. We came back, we got a penalty. Saka scored. Now it's 1-1. Yeah, fine. Now continue what you were doing in the first half. You see what I'm saying? Continue what you're doing in the first half and continue to dominate them because we're the better team. You could see from the first half we're the better team. Yes, we made a mistake and they scored, but we were still the better team. Now go and make the difference. Now go and continue to play like how you were playing in the first half, but do this in the second half. You see what I mean? But then instead we just came out in the second half and it was just like mistakes after mistakes. And I'm not gonna say we were pressed into those mistakes. No, it wasn't the case. You're gonna get like the narrative always favors the team that wins in the end, you know, so they can go around saying, oh, we did something to make them make this mistake, or we pressed them to make this mistake, or no, it wasn't like that. They weren't able to press us in the first half because we were playing a lot better. We're keeping the ball, building out play, getting to the final third. We just didn't attack the spaces we needed to attack enough. In the second half, the reason why they were able to press us at times is because we were putting pressure on ourselves, messing around with the ball in the build-up play. You know what I mean? Like Ramsdale will have the ball and just hold the ball for so long before releasing it. I'm like, what are you holding the ball for so long for? Yes, I know we're trying to build up play out the back, but building up play doesn't mean you just hold on to the ball unnecessarily for so long that they then push up and start pressuring us. Then you now decide, oh yeah, now let me start building up play. No, they already have 4 players in the final third waiting to press our attack, our defenders and our midfielders. Of course, that's not the time. When you get the ball immediately, play the ball to the next guy and start building up play from the back immediately, quickly. We'll just get messing about in the build-up play. The same with Saliba as well. The same with Gabriel, and messing around playing stupid passes for no reason. Then you had flipping Zinchenko at one point, had the ball in the wide area. He had Gabriel next to him, offering himself as an option. What did he do? He had 2 players there, decides to try and dribble through 2 players, and ends up flopping and losing the ball. And then they create an opportunity based on that. What are we doing? Like, we just kept making mistakes over and over and over. And then the goal that they scored as well, Gabriel passing backwards to who? Just clear the ball if that's the case. Like it wasn't. Oh my days! I don't even understand what we're doing in the second half. It's like we got into our heads in the second half, yeah, and we just couldn't snap out of it. It was just mistakes after mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. And it wasn't only in the deep areas, it was also in the final third as well. Then we just started messing around and doing stupid stuff. Like when Xhaka had the ball rather than just playing the pass quickly, but the ball just started bubbling and he just doing whatever he wanted to do. Making stupid mistakes. Jorginho in the final third at one point, rather than playing the 1-2, all you have to do is play a simple 1-2. Just ends up blasting the ball as if he was playing a long ball. You know what I mean? Like the second half was just embarrassing, man. It was just mistakes after mistakes, and it's so frustrating and so annoying when you know that you have the opportunity, you know you're the better team, you have the opportunity, at least get to pick up the draw if we're not gonna win, but you know you have the opportunity. You've been better than this team the whole season. And now you have the opportunity to stop them from getting close to you. And not only the fact that you've played better than them, but the fact that you've lost because you've just choked on the pressure and just bottled the whole game. You know what I mean? That's just the frustrating part. Like I would have no issues. I don't have any issues losing to Man City. I've said before I don't really care about all the titles they've won because I know that how much they've spent. You know what I mean? I would have no issues with losing to Man City if they were the better team. But when you know you're the better team, when you've performed like the better team, you've played like the better team for 45 minutes, and then the second 45, you just can't get out of your own heads and you just keep on making mistakes over and over again and handing out gifts to the opposition. That I can't deal with, man. That's so frustrating. It's so embarrassing, man. It's so annoying. Like when you think about it, it's like the talent is clearly there. Like we've got that ability. We've shown it this season. We've shown that the talent is there. It's just a lack of experience, man. It's just a lack of experience, and you can see it between us and them. Especially when you look at De Bruyne, for example, and you look at the way he celebrated at the end of the game compared to the other Man City players as well. It makes you realize that he's the one that's been there longer than a lot of them, and it allows you to see the mindset of someone who's won it over and over again compared to the mindset of the players that haven't. Because you can probably tell the difference. Between if we had won that game, how we would celebrate compared to what we saw De Bruyne doing. That's a seasoned veteran. That's someone who's been here before, who's done it before, and who knows that the title race is not over. That which is why he wasn't like that. Yes, he celebrated a little bit, but you could see you could tell when you look at players like that, you can tell, and we don't have players like that. I mean, you got Zinchenko, but Zinchenko's not De Bruyne. You know what I mean? It's like there's just such a massive gap experience wise. It's like I feel like they just came and they did the job. They just came and they did a job on us and just took our spot at the top of the league, and it's so frustrating, man. See, this is the thing that I don't like as always when people come out and say like, oh yeah, no, but you our aim at the start of the season was just top four. So I don't mind as long as we still get top four. We wasn't planning on winning the league title anyways. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter about what the prediction was at the start of the season. It's about where you find you. This is where we found ourselves this season. We have a great opportunity to win the league. Just because we were good this season and we were top of the league for so long, if we don't win the league this season, that doesn't guarantee that we're going to win the league next season. Just because things have gone well this season doesn't mean it's just going to continue. You have to think about it. Our rivals are not just going to stand still. Man United are getting better. Chelsea are signing so many players. If Graham Poor is not the one who takes them to the top, it's going to be a different manager because they're going to sack him and get another manager. And we know it's worked for Chelsea because they've consistently done it. City are going to look at what's gone wrong this season, and they're going to add some more depth to try and extend themselves. Obviously, of course, that's if they don't end up with a ban or stuff like that. But you've got teams that are coming up. So it's like when the opportunity is there to win a league title, you have to do your best to try and take it. And I understand that you can't just you can't buy experience. I mean, you can't just be experienced just all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So I understand that. But at the end of the day, man, it's just so frustrating because we've pretty much just like it kind of seems like we've blown it, even though we know that there's still a long way to go in the season. It kind of seems like we've blown it, but hopefully there's still time for us to try and go on another run again. But that it was just a perfect opportunity for us to create a gap there between ourselves and them, and then start to build on that. But anyways, let's just see how that goes. One of the criticisms I am gonna have against what we've had this season, for me, is where I'll put the blame on what's it called on Edu and Arteta. Of course, they've done really well to get us back to this stage, which is perfectly fine. They've done really well to get us from where we're finishing eighth, where we're not in the top four, to finally back in a position where we know we're going to get Champions League football next season and actually competing for a title as well. So they've done a great job to get us there. But it's like, at the same time, when you go into a season, regardless of if you're chasing for a top four, if you're chasing for a title, at the same time, you need to know that you need to be a lot more prepared than what we were. We've had to play with so much of the same 11 consistently over and over again this season. Like I keep saying, yes, we've been lucky. We've not had too many injuries, but mental fatigue is going to be there when you're playing the same players over and over again. We've barely been able to like make subs and barely being able to make changes in games. And most of our subs are just pre-planned because we don't trust a bunch of other players and we only trust a set of players. Like you can't win a league title with just 13 players. You know what I mean? Like we need to be able to trust a lot more players that's in the squad. And if you have a squad that you think is ready, that you think you can bring into a season to try and go the long run, because remember it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you can't just keep on banging out the same first 11 over and over and over and over again and then expect by the 20th game or the 21st game they're not going to be fatigued. Of course they're going to be fatigued. Playing the same game over and over again, playing the same player, using the same players over and over again. This aren't, I mean, I know Liverpool have done it before, but the players we have, this is not Mane, Salah, Firmino, where we have like some elite front three that are very experienced and can just do it over 38 games. We're not that. We need to be able to rely on the squad because we don't have those kind of players. So we need to rely on the squad a lot more than what they have to do. You know what I mean? So when you're needing to rely on the squad, if you're going into a season and you feel comfortable with the players that you've brought into the team, then surely you should be able to use these players. We can't go into a season thinking that we've got 2 players per position and then the season starts and then you don't rely on any of those players. Like, for example, Fabio Vieira, who's pretty much played 3 games this season. He's only started 1, but he's played like 270 something minutes, which equates to basically 3 games in the league this season. And that's a guy we signed for almost 40 million. And we've had to use Xhaka consistently the whole season, knowing that he's dropped in form since the World Cup, but we can't make any changes because we don't trust Fabio Vieira. And then obviously we knew going into the season that Smith Rowe is not someone that we can rely on fitness wise. So it's like that. What kind of planning is that? Again, we came into the summer. We knew that Martinelli, that we've been saying we shouldn't just rely on Martinelli as the main left winger. We should be able to understand that Martinelli should be someone who should still be able to rotate, who should still be fighting for a spot, not someone that's just guaranteed a starting spot in the 11. And then knowing that we didn't address that in the summer, then we come all the way to January and we're trying to quickly make something happen and we end up with Trossard. Of course, January is not the best time to find players, you know what I mean? That should have been addressed in the summer. Then even the Fabio Vieira situation, how do we know that we don't, he's someone that should have probably been given a lot more opportunity for us to see if we can actually rely on him or not. And if you know you couldn't rely on him, then surely you don't go into the season just relying on Xhaka. You know what I mean? He's been banging out games. Xhaka's been in here consistently playing week in, week out, week in, week out. You know what I mean? And then even with Partey, we didn't address that position either until January. And then we bring in, and then we have to rely on, and then we have to go for like a plan B option because we couldn't get the main targets we wanted to get. When we had the whole of summer, people need to stop saying it's just the January window and you couldn't sign the players in January. No, we had the summer to make these signings as well. We've been saying that we need a left winger, we need a left centre mid, and we need a defensive mid cover because we can't trust Partey to stay fit. We've waited until January to make these signings. So of course we're not going to get our main targets. This thing should have been done in the summer. This is what I'm saying about being a lot more prepared than we were. We weren't that prepared. We were not properly prepared. And at the same time, if you think that the players you're going into the season with are the players that you can rely on, then use those players. But Arteta hasn't been able to use his players. We're using such a small amount of the players that's in the squad. Like for example, of course you can't blame him for Gabriel Jesus getting injured. But we started the season with only Nketiah on the bench as an attacking depth. And now we're going to the second half of the season because Gabriel Jesus got injured. Now we're only relying on Trossard off the bench as the only other attacking depth. You know what I mean? Like, forget about Marquinhos. And Marquinhos, we were never trusting him. He was never trusted anyways. So it was like, you can't say, oh, we thought that Nelson was going to stay fit. No, he hasn't been fit. Smith Rowe hasn't been fit. So you can't go into seasons just expecting certain players to perform or certain players to just not be injured. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to plan properly. But that's something going forward in the future anyways, man. But yeah, man. Some other things I wanted to also talk about was Partey's fitness issues. As I said already, man, like 2 seasons, he played 24 games and then got injured. This season, the injury has now started. Let's see how long that lasts for. But we've been new already that this thing could be an issue, but it is what it is. Now looking into next season, that's a key position that we need to address. We can't just keep on justifying we can't just keep on justifying the fact that yes, but I love Partey. He's a great player, but he can't be the one that we just continue to rely on. I'm not saying that he needs to go. He needs to stay because he's an elite player. But at the same time, we need to sign a top class defensive midfielder that we can rely on. Someone that we know that when Partey gets injured, we're not going to start panicking. Like look, for example, Jorginho and Partey got injured for the City game. Jorginho was meant to come in. All of a sudden, everyone is panicking because they know that he's not at the level of Partey. Like Jorginho is nowhere near that level. Let's not kid ourselves. Jorginho is not on the same level as Partey. There's a difference between Jorginho and Partey, both defensively and in the build-up play. Jorginho can play these nice passes in the build-up. I said before, he's very good in the build-up play, but he's not good enough defensively. He's not mobile enough. What Partey offers for us in the build-up play, with his ability to pass and also his ability to carry the ball as well, is it makes a significant difference. There's times in the game where you give the ball to Partey and the options aren't open. What does Partey do? He picks up the ball, carries it, and starts looking for different options. The fact when he's dribbling the ball, he's opening up space, he's dragging players to himself and opening up new angles. Then he finds the pass. Jorginho is not on that level. So going into next season, we can't make the same mistake as well. Yes, we're not going to find a player on Partey's level, but at least we find a player we can find a guy who's going to give us more defensive stability. In that sense, at least that way, we know that okay, this guy may not give us the ball playing ability of that Partey gives us, but we know we're not going to be struggling in one department, which is defensively. That's what we need to. That's what we need to try and deal with going into next season. Another position again is the left centre mid Xhaka's position. As I said, I've been saying already. Fair play to him. He's been given a new role. He's done it well based on his intelligence and his engine. But you've seen post World Cup, it's not a natural position to him. You saw in this game, look at what he was doing in the final third, just misplacing passes, passing backwards, not able to do anything in the final third, can't carry the ball, can't receive back to goal, can't drive with the ball. This is not a position where that's natural to him. You know what I mean? Like we can't, again, we went into the season with him. I said last season, we can't go into the season with him. We went into the season with him. We can't go into next season again with Xhaka as our first choice left centre mid. That's not possible. Maybe you want to say Fabio Vieira, maybe you want to say Smith Rowe, but we can't go into another season again where we think we've got Smith Rowe, we've got Patino, we've got Fabio Vieira, and then the season starts and the manager doesn't trust any of them. That's not planning. If you don't trust them, make that decision in pre-season. And just end it right there, and let's go and get a left centre mid that we know is actually natural in this position. Someone that we know can receive back to goal, receive and turn at the same time, cover the ball and drive into the final third, can disorganize a deep block, dribble the ball. Like as he's dribbling the ball, he's going to be drawing attention to himself. So he can release the ball to either side. You have to think about it as well. Like at the same time, when you're thinking about this left centre mid, you also need to be thinking about Odegaard as well. For me, when you look at Odegaard in these games, in these key games, and these big games as well, at the same time, he's more of a midfielder in terms of like being a playmaker. He's more someone that's offering us more control. In like helping us with the build-up play, but in terms of the final action, he's not direct enough. Like when you're talking about direct, you're talking about guys like Bruno Fernandes, guys like Kevin De Bruyne, even guys like Maddison. You know, yeah, guys like Maddison, yeah, guys like that who are more direct in the final third, who are more willing to drive with the ball, more willing to shoot with the ball, more willing to take chances, take risks in the final third. Odegaard is more of a midfielder, more of like a playmaker, like someone like David Silva who stays deep and dictates the tempo. Those kind of players like that. That's what Odegaard is. And I feel like we need to take that opportunity with the left centre mid that Xhaka is taking up right now, find another midfielder who's going to offer us that kind of ability, the ability to pick up the ball, carry the ball, drive with the ball, make some final third actions and make something happen in the final third, take risks, do those crosses into the box that we see the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Maddison, that we see the likes of De Bruyne taking. Those kind of risks in the final third, that's what we need from that player. We need a new player in that position that's going to take those risks in the final third. That's what we're missing in the team at the moment. When you see all this Everton, all this Newcastle, all these teams, Brentford defending really deep against us, you need those kind of guys that are going to be taking these high risk, high reward kind of passes in the final third to make something happen and allow the rest of the team to sort out the build-up play and how we control and how we sustain possession. They can be in the final third, trying to make something happen. They're more forwards than midfielders. That's what we're lacking in that position and what we need to actually address there. And I think that's the kind of profile that we need to replace Xhaka on that side. The next player I want to talk about again is Martinelli. Like I said before, Martinelli, I like him a lot. He's not a winger though. He's an inside forward. He's someone who's a lot better if he was more central. The way we play, the way we play with our midfielders who receiving in that kind of half space, and our left back who's also drifting into midfield, whereby Martinelli has to stay really wide. That's not what's best suited for him. He's best suited when he is more inside, playing like a second striker, because he's more like a forward. He's not really a winger. What we need in that wide areas is someone who's also better as well, because there's levels that Martinelli needs to reach that he's not at the moment. So we can't just say so it's not just about getting a different kind of profile player. It's also the fact that we need to get someone who's better than Martinelli as well. If Martinelli ends up becoming a great player as well, that's fine. He's still got time to do that. But right now we need to find a winger on the left hand side that's better than him, and who can start over him as well, and who's more suited to play in this kind of system whereby you have to do a lot of 1v1 situations out wide, but still make runs, but still able to make off the ball runs in the end. You see Saka's comfortable playing this isolated role on the right hand side. We need someone on the left hand side who's also comfortable playing this isolated role, but at the same time can make off the ball runs into the box and become more of a goal threat. That's what we're missing on the left hand side, and that's what we need. Right back is another position again that we need to sort out. Next season, going into next season, I'm not trying to see no Tomiyasu, no Ben White. They've done a good job this season. We need someone at right back who can actually overlap, who can make a difference in the final third. We look at what you can see what Zinchenko's doing on the left hand side, whereby he's able to drift inside and make a difference in the final third, make a difference in midfield. We need that same thing on the right side. Saka, every single time Saka keeps on facing isolated situations, 1v1 situations, we need a right back that can offer him something. If we have a right back who can actually do something in the final third, that's a player that can draw attention away from Saka. He keeps getting into these 2v1, 3v1 situations. If you have another fullback out there that makes the opposition feel like, okay, we need to watch this guy and see what he's doing as well, that creates more space for Saka. That allows Saka to come inside a lot more as well. So we need to get a more natural player in that position. All these players in positions where they players are playing roles that they're not really suited to, or they're understanding it, but they're playing the role just because they're smart enough to do it and they're disciplined enough to stick to the role. No, we need more natural players in this position. You can see the players who aren't comfortable in this position. The likes of Xhaka, the likes of Ben White, Tomiyasu, the likes of what's his name, Martinelli on the left hand side. These are the key positions that we need to replace, and we also need to get defensive mid as well. So that's 4 positions that we need to address. But yeah, besides that, one of the things I also want to mention is Saliba. For me, great player, great potential. He can go really far in this game, but needs to improve his aggressiveness in the air, especially in the air. His aggressiveness in duels, and we've seen that back to back against Haaland and Ivan Toney. It's like at times he's just playing too calm, too nonchalant. You know what I mean? Like he needs to be, like, you can't consistently play like that. It's not like they're not really getting the best out of him in all duels or in all situations. But he needs to, like, play with an urge, you know what I mean? Like, play with more, like there needs to be more intensity in some of the things that he's doing. Because if you're not sharp enough, you're not intense enough, then you can have situations whereby you miss a bounce of the ball and then they can bypass you, they can go past you, or they can beat you in the air just because they're more intense. Not because you can't do it, but just because they come with more aggression, with more intensity. That's what he's missing in his game. He needs to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more intense in these 50-50 situations, especially when the ball is in the air. That was the kind of situation that he was messing around where Ivan Toney was getting the better of him, and then Haaland as well. In those situations, we need to see more from Saliba. That's the last thing that I was trying to address in that case. But to end everything on a positive note, Bukayo Saka, again, as we've seen, he's contributed to against all the big teams in the league. For me, that guy's the player of the season. It's a shame because he probably wouldn't get it if we don't win the league title, but he's been unbelievable this season. His ability. And then you look at that, what he missed the penalty for England, and then since then he's just been banging penalties. His mindset is great. Our best player, the best player on the pitch for us. He can just do anything. Like look at the moment when he was in the final third on the right hand side against Bernardo. The ball bounced and he literally just I think this was when he eventually got Bernardo the yellow card. Eventually got him booked, where Bernardo was like here and Saka was here, and he just dinked the ball in between Bernardo and the other guy, because they were trying to 2v1 him, and he just dinks the ball the other side of Bernardo and then ran the other side of him, and then Bernardo fouled him instead and he got the yellow card. That was beautiful, man. Saka's unbelievable. You can't stop him in 1v1 situations. That's why teams have to 2v1 him. You can't stop him. If you pull a fullback against Saka in a 1v1 situation, that fullback is getting sent off. So that's why they have to 2v1 him and stuff like that, man. Saka's unbelievable. For me, the best player in the league this season. Just need to see him. What's it called, man? Just need to see him. I hope he can get a player of the season, but unless we win the league title, it's probably not going to be likely. Maybe he'll win like Young Player of the Year or something like that. But anyways, yeah, we've got more things to worry about. Hopefully, we can get back on track, man, and start to chase Man City again for the title. Because at least, because remember, we still got a game in hand. So if we win that game in hand, we can go 3 points ahead. But we need to get back on track, man. We need to get back on track. We need to get out of our own heads as well. We're going to play a lot of teams that are going to be parking the bus, sitting deep. We need to figure out how we're going to sort that out. And then we need to also figure out how we're going to trust some of these players that we've not been able to rely on all season, because now we're going to start needing the likes of Fabio Vieira. I think Smith Rowe might be returning. I don't know. Those kind of players that hopefully we can get Smith Rowe back. We can get Jesus back from injury. We can start relying on Fabio Vieira, maybe even Nelson to come back and stuff like that. But now is the time to start relying on the squad. And I hope the squad players who haven't really played that much this season and stuff like that, I hope they're ready for this crucial part of the season that's going to be coming. But anyways, man, that's me on the Man City game. See you guys in the next video.